Okay, welcome to the AP Lit podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Vester. Our story for part of this week, probably the next 3 days, is going to be an encounter. So there should be a PDF version on Google Classroom under materials with the other stories I posted. And I've also, on the stream, posted a YouTube video that is the audio version. So you might want to listen to it as you read. That's my suggestion. Okay. So a little bit of background. This is James Joyce. We read one of his stories first semester, Arabe. If you remember that little boy that had the crush on the neighborhood girl, and he, went to the Arabe market to hopefully buy her something to win her love. And if you remember, he ran out of time and money and had kind of a big realization, aka an epiphany, at the end of that story. So we're going to see something very similar here. This is from the same section of that collection. So the first three stories are all grown men looking back at their youth. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about writing your next essay over the author, or not the author, I'm sorry, the narrator. All right. So just as with last week, our five foci are not going to change. So is this character who we never learn his name. So keep that in mind. He uses a fake name at the end, Smith, I think it is. Okay. So again, maybe ask yourself, is this character changed or unchanged? You're not really going to know that with this story till you get to the very, very, very end. So keep that in mind. And even then, it's going to be kind of speculative. Okay, so think about that epiphany real hard and what he's saying there. It can be kind of difficult, but try your best, or ask me questions as always. Okay, so relationships between characters. You're going to see a couple different ones here. So, our narrator boy has relationships with his friends in the neighborhood, and they differ in a particular way. Obviously, those same friends, some of them go to the same school as him, so that's a relationship there. The boys he goes on his adventure with, or the boy he goes on his adventure with. And then lastly, the man that they meet in the park. Okay, so what's going on there? Read carefully, listen carefully to that one, because the first few times I read this story, I slipped right by it. So pay attention to the man in the park. Okay, so speaking of parks, setting. Okay, so we're going to open the story in this boy's Dublin neighborhood, which we assume is probably, lower middle class or working class at this time. And then another part of the story takes place in school. And then the last part of the story takes place, in a park. Okay, so all those things can both be setting and symbols with this story. Okay, so think about that as you're reading and how that kind of progresses or doesn't. So next thing, symbols, right? So the main one in this one is going to be the man in the park. Okay, so I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head right now. Maybe the comic books is a symbol for something, so take a look at that. But those are really, I can think about the only two major symbols in this particular text. Okay, so as I said earlier, our narrator is an adult looking back at this time in his life and reflecting on it. So, are they reliable? Are they unreliable? In what way? Okay, one way or the other there. All right, do we trust him looking back at that? I don't know. And then a special consideration, obviously, with this story is the epiphany. Okay, sometimes they happen to characters in the middle of the story. With this particular one, it happens at the very, very, very end. But again, it's very hard to understand. So read it carefully and try to figure out what he's talking about there. And again, if you have issues, give me an email. Okay. So our assignment's going to be the same as it was with A and P, and those essays are great. Okay, the ones that I've looked at. And again, if you haven't turned it in yet, that's okay. No late work, but you guys are doing an awesome job. Okay, so luckily, we've been doing this all semester, so this should come pretty easy to you at this point. So all I need you to do for Monday is read the story. It's very short, 6-7 pages at most. Okay, or listen to it or both. And again, choose one foci. Try to do maybe something different because all of them totally work with this text. That's why I picked it. And for you seniors, you're welcome. So again, 2 pieces of evidence, and be sure you're just not typing the first few words and then dotting. I need to see the whole quote. I mean, I know these stories very well, but in order for me to match that up with your foci and your thesis, I need to see that whole thing. So just do that for me, please. Okay, and then just like we did last week, let's do the thesis 3 different ways, and double checking that the foci that you're using be obvious, be clear. Okay, I don't want to have to hunt for it. So just work that in to your thesis in some way, shape, or form. And again, I'll look over those, tell you which one is maybe the best, and then hopefully that'll set you right for the following assignment, which will be to type up the essay. I don't think I'm going to bring in an outside source this time, but just looking ahead, maybe think what you think the theme is here based on your interpretation or based on what you're looking at. It could be different. Okay, there could be more than one. There probably is more than one. So don't think there's just one, and that's it. Okay, although some of them do kind of overlap with this one. All right, so enjoy. It's a weird story. And I'll see you next time. Signing off. Later.